Whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, whether I find a place in this world I'll never belong, I've gotta be me. I've gotta be me. What else can I be but what I am? I wanna live, not merely survive. And I won't give up this dream of life that keeps me alive. I've gotta be me. I've gotta be me. The dream that I see makes me what I am. That faraway prize, a world of success, is waiting for me if I heed the call. I won't settle down, won't settle for less, as long as there's a chance that I can't have it all. I'll go it alone, if that's how it must be. I can't be right for somebody else if I'm not right for me. I've gotta be free. I've gotta be free. Daring to try to do it or die. I've gotta be me.
Thank you, Millie. Hello, everybody. Real people. Living, breathing people at last. I cannot tell you how I have yearned, in a miserable sense, for applause, recognition. Somebody just tell me that you're listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a few housekeeping things to talk about before we get going. Most of you can hear a whirring sound, the fan that's going on, and that's actually coming from two ionizers that are in the balcony. Those ionizers shoot out negative ions, and they scrub the air of 98.4% of all contaminants, including COVID. So if you came in here and you rubbed up against somebody and there was COVID on them or something, that is gone. The bad side is that it makes a little bit of noise. Can everybody hear okay? Okay. And the other thing is there's a slight little breeze. That'll be nice in the summertime. But so if everybody's cool with that, we'll leave them on. Okay? The second thing is our stage setting here. We'll be doing some videos in a little bit. And sometimes the candelabras or even the God box, which is in the middle, obtrudes the view for people. If that's the case, let us know and we'll do some rearranging next week so that you have a clear picture of what's going on. So we'll now begin the service with the temple chimes, the opening prayer, Geneva Price, who will be back next week, by the way, live in person. Geneva Price and the call to inspiration. Please say this with me if you choose. On this day, we dedicate ourselves to peace on earth. We accept ourselves without harsh judgment and express appreciation for our individuality. We live without fear to meet the events of this day with confidence. We accept others without prejudice to experience a sense of unity with all people. We honor our earthly environment and recognize a oneness with all creation. In harmony with ourselves, our lives, other people, and all nature, we live this day with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful spirit. Thank you, God. Amen.
Here faithful love and truth will embrace, for peace and justice come face to face. God's truth shall water the earth like a spring, while justice will bend down and sing. For you are the light which shines in darkness.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody searching for a hero. Everyone needs someone to look up to. I never found anyone to possess my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I would live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself, it is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of leads you to a lonely place, find your strength in love.
Okay, there we go. Thanks, Millie. As you can probably tell by now, the theme of the service today is on you as an individual. And we live in a world that daily sends out messages telling us that we need to change and become something that we're not, or that we're not right the way that we are. And that is the biggest harmful condition of the human species. The only species in all of nature that steps outside of itself, looks back with a sense of rejection in regards to who they are or what we are. This is our first service back. We're going to continue with live services moving forward. And I talked to my cousin Ozzy in Nunda, South Dakota. Never been a churchgoer. He's not religious in any sense of the word. But this girlfriend of his has convinced him that he needs to go to the Second Lutheran Church with her. And, if you can believe this, sing in the choir. So the first Sunday, Ozzy goes, he's in the back choir loft. The minister gets up and begins to preach. And he said, if I had all the beer in the world, I'd throw it in the river. And even with more emphasis, he said, if I had all the wine in the world, I would throw it in the river. And then he said with a thunderous voice, if I had all the whiskey in the world, I'd throw it in the river. And he sat down. With that, Cousin Ozzy jumped to his feet and invited the congregation to sing hymn number 365. We shall meet at the river. Good old Cousin Ozzy, huh? Well, this is the second part of a 5-part series on spiritual awareness. And the spiritual awareness that we're covering are the 5 basic principles of unity. 5 foundational principles that set the way for us to live a very fulfilling and comfortable life. Last week, the first Sunday of last month, I talked about the first principle, which is God. And you might think that God is something easy to talk about, but it isn't, because you cannot define God. You cannot describe to people what God is. The old God that we grew up with, the old man on the throne in the far-off reaches of the sky, was easy because we could imagine that. We could relate to it. We could, yes, a big, powerful man. But the new God that we've come to understand is different. The objective of this series is to awaken to all the misperceptions, misconceptions, error thinking that we have in regards to God, ourselves, and our lives. And there's a lot of them. You've heard it said that God is an old man with long white hair, long white beard, sitting in the far-off reaches of the universe on a golden throne with a fistful of lightning bolts, watching everybody and trying to determine who's doing right and who's doing wrong so God can punish them. That is not true. You have heard that if we don't march in step in perfect accordance with God's wishes, we'll be sent to hell when we die, a torturous place. That is not true. Misconceptions, misperceptions. Now here we get a little closer to home. You have heard that each and every one of us has a spark of the divinity within us, that we have a spark of God within us. That is not true. You have heard that God is good all the time. That is not true. We are dispelling the misperceptions and the misconceptions that have evolved over centuries, basically. When we are told by clergy or by church that we will go to hell when we die, that is a new concept of Christianity. Jesus never said that. Matter of fact, that statement was made by the organized religion 300 years after Jesus had died. Yet it is still out there. It is still hanging with us. Now, we are being called on to make a shift in our thinking, in our consciousness, from God as something out there, God as a anthropomorphized person who is a deity, to just understanding that God is it all. That's all I can say. God is it all. I could take the rest of the lesson today, I could take the rest of the week telling you what God is, and I'd still fall short, because God is it all. So as we move into the second principle, which is God is within us, that is hard to conceptualize. What do you mean God is within me? How can that be? God is it all. God was the creative force that got everything rolling 14 billion years ago at the Big Bang, which has evolved into everything you see today. God is that and more. God is a spirit, the creative force of the universe that's within you, that allows the intelligence and the wisdom within you to make over 200,000 decisions every day about how your body should be and what it needs to do to keep you alive. God is the intelligence within you. God is the power within you. God is that and more. Now, when it comes to understanding this, we have to draw on an earthly metaphor so we can literally see it within our minds. So I want you to imagine that all of existence is an ocean. And that in this infinite ocean, there is a wave, and that is life. And within the ocean, there is a single drop of water, and that is God, and that is you. But God is it all. God is the ocean. God is the wave, the life force. God is each and every one of us. But to say that a spark of God is within us diminishes God. That is like saying you take a drop of water from the ocean, which is us, which is God, that there is a tad bit of wetness in that drop. We are diminishing God by saying there's a spark of God within us when we have to come to the understanding that we are all God, every single bit of us. It's not a spark. We are immersed in God's Spirit. We are God and God is us. And when we get that, we totally suspend the notion that we have that there's a separation between us and God. And that's one of the biggest problems facing us as human beings, that we're separate. And with that separation, there comes a sense of guilt sometimes, a sense of shame sometimes. From the early childhood stories I heard, that I was born a sinner, unworthy in nature, and a disappointment to God that's had a grip on me. And it still does to a certain effect this day. But we need to suspend that. We need to disperse of it and understand that God is it all and I'm part of it all. It bothers me that young children in Sunday school, in many religions today, are taught that they're sinful by nature and that God is disappointed in them. That is very difficult for a young child who's trying to find their place in this world, to find out how to maneuver through life, and all of a sudden they come to believe that I am simply not good enough, God doesn't like me, God's out there, God's going to send me to hell. And that is a fear that sticks with many people their entire lives, that they're going to go to hell when they die. Over my career as a minister, I've been called to the bedside. Many, many people who are dying. They know that their time is short. And invariably, it'll come up and they'll ask me the question, is there any chance that I'm going to hell? And my answer has been the same from my very first day in the ministry till now. I'll look them square in the eye and I'll say, if there is a God that would send a person like you to hell for eternal punishment, then I call on that God right now to strike me dead. Now, in the early days, I could say that with a lot of emphasis and a lot of enthusiasm. These days, after I tell them that, if there is a God that will send you to hell, I call on that God to strike me dead, I go into prayer. And I say, dear God, please do not let me die of a heart attack now. That would just mess everything up. But as we move through all these misconceptions and misperceptions, in addition to understanding that there is no separation between us and God, the second big step that we have to take is move to a point where we accept ourselves unconditionally. 85% of the people do not like themselves. They do not accept themselves unconditionally, because from the earliest age, they have been told that they need to change and become something other than what they are. They're not right the way they are. There's comparisons, there's competitions that we go through, and we come to the point where I am just not right. I don't fit into this world. Now remember, every single thing that we know has been told to us in one form or another, other than a few intuitive thoughts that might have come our way. Everything has been told to us, either by an authoritative voice, or something that we read in a book, something we saw on TV. It doesn't make any difference. So we have this consciousness that is full of all sorts of thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and perceptions that are totally false. And all of these thoughts and feelings shade the joy and the comfort of our lives. It is just sad. If there's one thing that I can tell you today, and it's the most important thing that I can say today, tomorrow, or the next day, is that we have come to the point where we have to shake off feelings of inferiority and realize them for what they are, just an illusion or a fantasy or a myth. We have to shake off a sense of not being worthy. We have to shake off a sense of feeling as if everybody else is better than us. Because with that comes so many different dynamics. We see the world in a different way when we feel that we're not as good as we should be. And I'm telling you why we do that, because we've come to believe that we are unworthy, that we have an inferiority complex. And so as we look around the world, we find all sorts of different things that are evidence of that. We can be walking down the street, somebody can pass us the other way. If they don't smile and say hi, it's our mind says, well, that's because we're not good enough. They don't want to deal with me. Or if in the early days we're in the romance stage and somebody rejects us or dumps us or whatever it might be, you may take that personally. Oh my gosh, it's me. I'll never find somebody that loves me because I am unlovable. That is the major step we have before us at this time in our spiritual evolution. First of all, recognize there's no separation between ourselves and God. Second, recognize that we are an expression of God's Spirit, and it is an expression of perfection. Now, they say that God is good all the time. So let's take a look at that for a second. God is not good. God is not bad. God just is. God is just the energy, the spirit, the life force of the universe and more. So when we say God is good all the time, it's hard to justify that when every single day we see horrendous events taking place around the world, vile acts of inhumanity. We see assaults, we see insults, we see all sorts of things that are bad. So if God is good, then who's the bad? Is the devil? No, we already discounted that. Well, God just is. God is neutral. A good metaphor for this is electricity. Think of God as electricity. And electricity is good and it's bad. We can use it to light up a room. We can use it to heat certain spaces. But we can also use it to electrocute somebody. Electricity is not good or bad. It's how we use it. It's the same thing with God. We have this power within us. We have this energy within us. We have this spirit within us. And we can use it any way we choose. If we use it to commit a crime or to hamper somebody else's peace of mind, that's not God doing that. God just is there for us. We have to take the responsibility for what that is. So God is good, God is bad, God is it all, but not a single thing. God is it all. Now, as I said before, we live in a world that makes it very difficult to be totally centered in unconditional love for ourselves and self-acceptance. Everywhere we look, whether it's commercials on TV, billboards, somebody's opinion, whatever it might be, the message comes out, you're not right the way you are, you need to change. You need to change your hair color, you need to lose weight, you need to smoke this kind of a cigarette, you need to drink this kind of booze. Everybody's telling us what we need to be better or to be complete. Now, I know of what I speak. This isn't just textbook stuff that I've read because I've experienced it, and everybody here has as well. There have been times in your lives, I'm relatively sure, where you have been rejected, or you've been harshly criticized, where you have been condemned for one reason or another by somebody limited in intelligence that strikes out, that doesn't understand. When I decided to become a minister, it was a very difficult process. I was different. I applied 3 times before I got in. And each time it came back with a rejection until the 3rd time. Once I got in, I had a good friend that talked to me a little bit and said, well, maybe you could change yourself a little bit and become more like a normative unity minister. And that's like a cookie cutter assembly line. You know, you need to dress like this. You need to cut your hair short. My hair was down to my shoulders at that time. You need to cut your hair short. You need to act like a minister. You need to talk like a minister. You need to present the normative ministry model to the world. And I tried to do that, but I just couldn't. I don't know if it was me. I've always been introverted, so I was kind of shy. Maybe it's because I was from South Dakota. Maybe it's because they discovered I'm a leaf on the same branch as Cousin Ozzie in the family tree. Whatever it was, after 6 weeks in the seminary, they put me on what they called a concern list. And at first, when my advisor broke this news to me, she says, well, we're concerned about you. God, that is so nice of you. Thank you. I am hoping that people are concerned about me. He said, no, you don't get it. We're concerned about your future career as a unity minister, and we are concerned that you're not making the progress we hoped that you would. You're not fitting into that mold. After that, once a week, I had to go to one of the faculty, and we'd sit down and we would talk. And then every 3 months, there would be a group meeting of 4 of us, myself and 4 other of the faculty, and they'd talk about this concern thing. And I understood what they were saying, but I just couldn't get it. I couldn't adapt it. Well, at the end of the 2 years, still on the concern list, and it came time for the License and Ordination Committee to meet with every student and determine if they're going to graduate. So I went into this room, sat down. There was 4 people in a half circle in front of me. And they started going through all of the things that they thought I needed to change in order to become a unity minister. And one of the biggest things was my appearance. Not that it was bad, I just didn't wear a suit and tie at the time. And after 30 years of ministry, I took the tie off and I'm free again. And then they talked about my giving a sermon or a lesson, that I was bound to my notes too much and that I wasn't making enough eye contact. And then they had some other things that were wrong that needed to change. And they said they were concerned about me graduating. And then they turned it over to me. They said, what do you have to say? I didn't know what to say at first. But then a story came to me. I was hesitant to tell it, but I thought, why not? So I looked at them and I said, this is a story of Johnny the Peach. Once upon a time, there was a little peach, a little boy peach. His name was Johnny. He was a good peach. All of the different people in his village loved him. He had never been in trouble. He had never done anything wrong. Well, one day, Johnny was out walking around and he came across the stand where all the local fruits hang out, and he ran into a bunch of blueberries. The blueberries asked him if he wanted to go across the street to an empty field and play ball. Johnny said, yeah, he thought that'd be fun. So they all went across the street, they began to play ball. But pretty soon, the blueberries became bored, and they thought it would be fun to tease Johnny. All of them together began to chant, Johnny isn't small, Johnny isn't small. And as it went on, the chants became louder and they became meaner. Johnny thought it was fun at first, but then his feelings got hurt, and he walked off the field. On his way home, he felt very bad because he was rejected by the group. But he came up with a bright idea. He said, I am going to go home and I'm going on a fast. I won't eat anything for 30 days and I'll get small just like the blueberries. And Johnny did exactly that. For 30 days, he didn't eat a thing. At the end of 30 days, he looked in the mirror and he was so happy. He had shrunk in size and he said, alas, I'm just like them. He couldn't wait to see the blueberries. He thought they'd be happy to see how he had reduced his size. But when he ran into them, the blueberries decided to tease him about something else. They decided to tease him about his color. And they all began to chant, Johnny isn't blue, Johnny isn't blue. And Johnny was stunned at first. But then he came up with another bright idea. He decided he would go home and he would sit in a big vat of blue dye every day for a week until he changed his color. And he did exactly that. Now, as he looked in the mirror, he said, I'm small just like the blueberries. I'm blue just like the blueberries. I can't wait to meet up with them and have them accept me for the way I am. When he met up with the blueberries, they decided to tease him about something else. And this time, they decided to tease him because he had a pet. And they all began to chant, Johnny has a pit, Johnny has a pit. And Johnny thought, a pit? I can't do anything about my pit. I can't live without it. And he walked away feeling so bad because he realized he would never fit in. He was so sad that he lay down in the grass and he cried himself to sleep. A short time after that, he felt somebody rustling him a bit, and he looked up, and there was a little girl, Peach. And she was looking down at him, and she said, "Are you okay? You look horrible. I mean, you're blue, you're all shrunken, your eyes are all swelled up from crying." And Johnny looked at her, and she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. She had a peaches and cream complexion. Her fuzz was the nicest he had ever seen in his life. And he told her the whole story. How at first he tried to reduce his size so he'd be like the blueberries. Then he tried to reduce his color so he'd be the same color as the blueberries. And then it came down to his pit, and he couldn't do anything about it, and he felt bad. Well, the little girl pit went ballistic. And she said, "Johnny, don't you realize, as a blueberry, you're always going to be second rate. You'll never cut the mustard. You'll never be good enough. But as a peach, just the way you are, you're AAA plus. You are perfect. And anybody tells you you're not right the way you are, just understand that person is thinking in an untruthful way." With the help of the little blue peach, or with the little girl peach, Johnny went home and he scrubbed all the blue dye off, and she fed him good, nutritious meals, and he regained his size and he regained his color. And they decided, after all he had been through, they should go on a vacation. So Johnny and the little girl peach walk off into the sunset, hand in hand. Now, when I finish this, the four people, they're still there, looking at me, kind of cross-eyed. And they said they were now doubly concerned about me. But they said, "You can go ahead and graduate, but we're going to continue putting you on the concern list for at least a year or two to see how you do in the ministry." So I says, "Okay." I want you to flash forward from that moment, 15 years later. I was minister of this church. Charles R. Fillmore, the CEO of Unity Worldwide Movements, came to see me. And he said the family was pulling out of Unity, and they're looking for new people to take over the board of directors, and they would like me to become the chief executive officer of Unity, the worldwide movement. I was stunned. I hadn't been back there since I graduated. I just didn't have a good feeling about it. I said, "Well, let me think about it." He says, "Please do this for me." I said, "Okay." So the day they introduced the new board, myself as a CEO out at Unity Worldwide Ministries, I got up in front of all the employees, probably 500 or 600 here. And there were 3 people in the audience that were there on the License and Ordination Committee that kept me on the concern list, which, by the way, they had never taken me off. So I got up and I said, "Hi, my name is Duke Tufte. I'm from Unity Temple in the Plaza. I'm very happy to be here." And this is a historic moment. It is a historic moment because of the first time in Unity movement, you have put somebody in charge of this thing that is on a concerned list. I don't understand it. What is going on? And of course, the people that had been there, they were kind of not looking at me. But it was a happy ending. And since that time, every other student that went to Unity School that got put in the concern list, the buzz out on the street was, "You got to go see Duke. He knows all about that." And then when they come and see me, I'd say, "Don't worry about it. You be yourself. You be true to yourself. You be 100% what you can be without effort, and everything will work out." And in most cases, it has. So once again today, the message is for each and every one of us, it comes a time where we have to quit that negative chatter in our head, which, by the way, is 75% of our self-talk, is negative. We have to quit the negative talk directed at the self. We have to quit bullying the self and forcing ourselves to do or to become something that we're really not. We have to quit making harsh judgments against ourselves because we're comparing ourselves to somebody else. That has to stop now before the first step can be taken on the rest of your spiritual path. We have to fall back in love with ourselves and accept ourselves and understand we're going to make problems, we're going to have mistakes, people are going to reject us, there might be breakups, there might be divorces, there might be all sorts of things that go on in our lives, but that does not diminish the value of the self, which is an expression of God's Spirit. That is what we're called on to do. And I know this is going to be an exciting journey. Once we set our intention, no more self-beat up, and we begin to notice when we slip up and we start to criticize the self and correct ourselves, it's not that difficult. We are simply going back to the consciousness of self that we had when we came into this world. There's not a baby in this world that has low self-esteem. There's not a baby in this world that doesn't feel worthy. Babies just are the fullest expression of who they are. And it's not until they start to move through life and somebody tells them, you're not quite right because you're too big. You're not quite right because you're the wrong color. You're not quite right because you have blue eyes instead of brown eyes. Whatever it might be, we need to immunize ourselves from any self-criticism. We don't take it in and use it as a weapon on ourselves. Thank you. We're now going to move into meditation, but before we do, I got a postcard this week from Johnny the Peach. And let's see. Johnny the Peach on the beach, there he is. Please join with me now as we go into meditation.
In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow wins, good is there. In the light now you find that you know peace of mind. In the silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there. Peace is there. Truth is there. God is there.
As we move into meditation, I invite you to make yourself comfortable. And take a deep breath and slowly exhale. God is the Spirit, the energy, the power, the wisdom of the universe. And God is it all. That spirit, that energy results in the expression of everything in existence, including ourselves. You've heard it said there is a spark of God within us, a spark of divinity within us. God is it all, every cell, every atom of our body. When we get that, the world becomes a different place. It becomes a kinder place, a more loving space. Because we begin to experience the love that we have for ourselves, the acceptance that we have for ourselves, and we express that outward. Sometimes forgiveness is called for, because at times of rage we have turned on the self, sometimes with hate, with disgust. That's over. No more. And when that demon comes to knock on your door, you open the door and you see that it is nothing at all. Just a thought. A single thought in your mind, I am not right, I am wrong, casts a shadow over your entire life. So as we move into the silence, we go deep within to that special place within our heart where we reconnect with that wonderful, pure being that we are. In the silence. As you begin to move back from your meditative state, do so with a sense of comfort, a sense of knowing that your path ahead is pure potential. You can live the life you want to live. Do the things you want to do. Accept life as it is, moment by moment, and give thanks for yourself in the life that you have. And so it is.
We are God's work of art, fashioned to shine with goodness and light, as it was from the start, formed by this great love. We are God's great wondrous work of art.
Mother, mother, there's far too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Oh, Father, Father, there's no need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer. Only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Hey, picket lines, picket signs, don't bother me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Simply 'cause our hair is long. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here great signs. Don't punish me with brutality. Come on and talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Please tell me what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Jim. This is the time of the service that we call gratitude. And we just think about all the things in our lives that we're thankful for, that are pleasant, that make this life experience as enjoyable as it can be. We don't pass the offering anymore, and because passing the plate and all that stuff seemed just another way to transmit germs, there's a basket in the lobby. If you'd like to leave an offering, that's great. We appreciate it. The way you can help this institution, this church, the most is by becoming an ambassador. An ambassador is somebody that signs up for consistent giving. Now, when people hear that, they kind of back up. Oh, no, I'm not going to get into that. I was like that in my last church. But we're not going to come over and take a look at your income tax records and tell you how much you have to give. You give whatever you want. Some people give $1 because that's all they can afford. So if you become an ambassador, it gives us some idea of the revenues that are going to be coming in. We can plan our budget much more effectively. If you'd like to become an ambassador, there's a place where you can sign up at the table. Also, I'd like to give special thanks today to our musicians. We have Tim Whitmer on the piano. Millie Edwards, of course. Over here in the side aisle is Jim Mayer. Jim and I have been working together for 30 years, and I think he's the finest saxophonist in the entire Midwest. He's just incredible. And our harmonica player, Clay, has moved to Osceola, Missouri, so he's no longer going to be opening the show, but Jim will be filling that spot, so he'll be here every Sunday from this point forward. And we call it Out of the Darkness and Into the Light. That will be his little segment, along with playing with the other musicians. Yay, Jim. Now, this is National Women's History Month, so today we're going to continue our gratitude with a person of Unity history, and that's Myrtle Fillmore. We wouldn't be sitting here today if it weren't for her. She was the heart of Unity from the very beginning. When she was afflicted with a disease, the doctors gave her 6 months to live. 45 years later, she died. And it was through prayer and meditation. And her husband saw what happened. He started the Unity movement with her. Here we are. This temple was actually dedicated to her. She had died about 10 years previously. And so her husband Charles built this. It was called the Myrtle Fillmore Temple on the plaza at that time. And then at some point they changed the name. So here's a tribute to Myrtle Fillmore.
She's known as Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity along with her husband Charles Fillmore. But she was born Mary Carolyn Page on August 6, 1845, the seventh of 9 children. As a child, she adopted the name Myrtle and would later reject the teachings of her strict religious parents. Ever since she was a little girl, Myrtle had been sick. At a young age, she contracted tuberculosis. For many years, she believed she was incurably weak and sickly.
I had all the ills of mind and body that I could bear. Medicine and doctors ceased to give me relief, and I was in despair.
That was until Myrtle discovered new spiritual ideas and principles we now call Unity. The year was 1886, and Myrtle was in her early 40s. She and her husband Charles attended a lecture by metaphysician Dr. E.B. Weeks of Chicago. Myrtle left the talk with a stronger faith and an understanding of her innate divine potential for healing through affirmative prayer.
It flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body and have it do just what I wanted. I began to teach my body and got marvelous results.
Instead of seeing her body as weak, inefficient, and diseased, she began speaking words of strength and power to every part of her body: her liver, stomach, abdomen, limbs, eyes, and heart.
I didn't get discouraged at their being slow to wake up, but kept right on, both silently and aloud, declaring words of truth until they did respond. And neither did I forget to tell them that they were free, unlimited spirit. I told them they were the centers of life and energy, omnipresent.
Myrtle began regularly affirming,
I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness.
By repeating this affirmation, Myrtle believed she was going to get better. And 2 years later, she did. In 1888, she was healed of the tuberculosis condition that had threatened her life. Myrtle remained committed to blessing and encouraging her body with true thoughts and words.
I became very watchful as to what I thought and said. I didn't let any worried or anxious thoughts into my mind. And I stopped speaking gossipy, frivolous, petulant, angry words.
Myrtle was excited by her healing discovery, and so were her family and friends. She began working with others in need of healing. In time, her husband Charles Fillmore began his own practice of prayer and meditation. He began to heal from an ice skating accident he had at age 10. In 1889, inspired by Myrtle's transformation, the Fillmores founded the Unity Movement in Kansas City, Missouri, as a healing ministry based on the power of prayer and the power of thoughts to create reality. In 1890, the couple pioneered a prayer outreach that grew into Silent Unity, the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week prayer ministry that still serves the world today.
I want everybody to know about this beautiful, true law and to use it. It is not a new discovery, but when you use it and get the fruits of health and harmony, it will seem new to you, and you will feel that it is your own discovery.
Her work lives on through Silent Unity and the inspiring manuscripts and personal papers in the Myrtle Fillmore collection at the Unity Library and Archives. The collection is being digitized for online access. To learn more or help support this effort, visit unity.org.
There we have it. Just a little bit of trivia about Myrtle. This goes back to the 1920s, and she was definitely what we're talking about today. She was a woman of her own. And as mighty as her husband was, he could not change her. She marched her path, and she stuck to it. When they moved from downtown Kansas City out to Unity Village, they built a house. Myrtle didn't like to cook, so she insisted that there be no kitchen in the new house. Charles built another house right next door to him, and he moved his mother in. So whenever anybody was hungry, they just trot from their house over to Grandma's house and get all the food they wanted. Anyway, let's close today with the prayer for protection, and together we can sing the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let